So that makes it all the way. That's disgusting.
And we are live.
Take your picture. The precedent case, it doesn't certainly can be like a fact. So he can't. He can't. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I've asked. They've been right case. This is. I just found out. So. And then you can hear it. We'll put our. Let's just get it. Okay. We'll talk about it. Yeah. I'll talk with you. Talk about it. It's a racket.
Good situation. It just does.
Oh. Oh.
Somebody wants to wrong, say, hey,
Yeah.
kids.
Right.
That's what. So
Yeah,
far, so
yeah,
far.
yeah.
Okay. But this is so children going right now too.
No, she's threatening. But she doesn't understand. They are. And it sounds like you're doing yourself. So the mitigation strategies right now. There is doing some research.
Right, you can limit the hours here.
Yeah, that's the first thing. Right there. Yeah. They're expensive. So we're starting some other people. So
A lot of my friends, it started playing. Sure.
yeah,
I mean, it's, yeah, I guess. So it's,
did you know that they lived all and they moved to Charlotte in that time?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Doug Farnsley. I'm the mayor of Prospect. Today is Monday, October 21st, 2024. The time is 7:00 p.m. and I'll call to order this regular meeting of the City of Prospect City Council. The first item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. Minutes of the September 16, 2024 meeting have been circulated to council and have been available online. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes as drafted? If not, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll move. Second.
Okay, Mr. Clark moved and Mr. Fulcher seconded the approval of the minutes. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes stand approved. Next item on the agenda is for comments from citizens. We have one citizen signed up to speak, and I'll make a brief preparatory remark or a few remarks regarding Mr. Mike Fisk, who is here from Evergreen Liquors. So the Evergreen Liquors, as everyone knows, is in the Prospect Point Shopping Center. I think they have another year or so to go on their lease, and they are concerned about being able to stay in Prospect. So one of the challenges is that our current ordinance on zoning provides that liquor stores have to be at least a half a mile apart in the city. Our city attorney, and he'll speak to this later in the meeting when we get to that point in the agenda, but the city attorney, in consultation with the League of Cities and with the state ABC Alcohol Beverage Control Board, has determined that our ordinances been superseded by state law. I believe I'm stating this correctly, and that we're not in a position to impose distance limitations on liquor stores. So that will come before the council for a change in the ordinance for first reading this evening. But that's the background on Mr. Fisk being here, and I just wanted to sort of set the stage. Mike, if you would like to address the council.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. You basically said everything I was just about to say. But no, my name is Mike Fisk. I'm the Chief Sales and Marketing Officer for Evergreen Liquors and then also Cox's Spirit Shops. We have 25 retail locations in and around the city of Louisville. Obviously, one of our larger locations is here in Prospect. We acquired that location a little more than 3 years ago. Prior to that, it was Prospect Party Center, which had been around for, as far as I can tell, at least 20 to 25 years. So I've been here for quite some time, and Prospect is a very important piece of our business. When we acquired Prospect Party Center, like most companies do during acquisitions, we look to get extended leases or to create a new lease on the property that is sitting in. For the past 3 years, the property owner has not allowed us to extend our lease or renew our lease because from what we've been told, the property is under contract to be purchased. So we are not able to get any more information on who's purchasing the property, what the timeline of the property is. But all we know at this time is that our lease basically ends January 1st of 2026. So we have about a year and a couple months left on our current lease in that location. Like the mayor spoke to, there is in your ordinances, there's a half a mile distance wall in your ordinance currently. Right before this meeting, I drove the business district of Prospect on 42, and it is not even 3/4 of a mile long. So trying to get another location with it that is half a mile away from another liquor license is obviously challenging, especially with the amount of businesses that are in those locations. Prospect is a very, very important piece of our company. That is the main reason we made an acquisition of the Party Center chain, which was 3 stores. We bought 3 stores in order to gain access to Prospect. I mean, that was the main reason we wanted to be in this area. Our fear today is that in a year from now, we're going to be moving out of Prospect and not be able to serve this community. So we're a locally owned, we're actually a 100% employee owned company now. So as of 3 years ago, we're an employee owned company. So every employee that works for us has a share, not only in that store, but in 25 other locations and growing. So we are very, very interested in looking at potentially changing the ordinance to allow us to stay in Prospect. We have an option that we're currently exploring right now to do so. But obviously the ordinance is a big roadblock. So thank you to the mayor. We've talked quite a few times, Mr. Carter as well, Mr. Gorman, we've spoken a few times. Tony, we have full support, it seems like, from the 4 of you in terms of wanting to stay in Prospect. I feel, and sounds like soon to be chief has agreed that we are a good corporate citizen of the city of Prospect and haven't had many issues. We've really tried to be an advocate for the communities that we serve and that we're having businesses in. So as we get further into the new business, just know that's where this order of business is coming from. And our intention is to stay and continue to serve and be a supporter of the city of Prospect. So,
Mike, thanks for being here and for talking with us along the way and sort of helping us get through this process. And hopefully this evening will move you one step closer to being able to stay put.
Yeah, absolutely. And afterwards, I have business cards. If anyone wants a business card or wants to set up a separate meeting between this meeting and the next, feel free. I'm more than welcome to sit down with anyone and kind of explain the situation.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, guys.
So Mike's the only person who signed up. Are there any other citizens here who would like to speak? If not, I have a council member who's asked to have an opportunity to make some remarks. So I'll turn the floor over to David Holmes. You get 3 minutes, David.
Thank you. I'll speak quickly. I just wanted to take this opportunity to commend our mayor on the program that he instituted to fix the sidewalks in Prospect. I've been spending a lot of time walking the neighborhoods in the last 2 months as part of campaigning. And initially, I did not realize how many neighborhoods needed sidewalk repairs not only damaged sidewalks, but the raised sidewalks where the mayor found that you could shave them off with a new piece of equipment to do that. And I think it really is an improvement for the city. And I know from talking to neighbors, especially some of the neighborhoods that have had a lot of problems with it, this has made a big difference for their ability to get out and walk in their neighborhoods. So I want to commend him for doing that. I also want to challenge him, having walked in some of the neighborhoods, to try to figure out a program that we can come up with to put new sidewalks in some of the neighborhood areas, streets particularly, that are underused and don't have sidewalks in them. Fox Harbor is one of them. Deep Creek is another one. I'm sure that there's some other neighborhoods that are like that. But Deep Creek and Fox Harbor Hills are absolutely dangerous for the people who are trying to walk. And we've got younger people out. We've got baby carriages going down these hills. And it's just out and out dangerous, and we need to do something about it. So I'm hoping that this is something that the mayor can come up with some programs on, and the council will support, and we can get some sidewalks put into these streets that need them. But I do think he needs to be commended for doing the job that he's done on fixing the ones that need to be fixed.
Thanks, David. And as you and I discussed, we'll try to explore grant opportunities that may be available for new sidewalks also. Okay. Next item on the agenda is the mayor's report. I have a report. So first I'll make 4 announcements and then some brief comments about my appointment of Tony Denham as Prospect's new police chief. First announcement is to remind the council members and those who are present and those who may be watching on YouTube that the city is hosting a reception on this Thursday evening, Thursday of this week, at the Hunting Creek Country Club from 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock p.m. to honor Chief Jeff Sherrard as he approaches the end of his tenure as our chief. The city invites and encourages Prospect residents to attend that reception. My second announcement is repeating what I said at our October 15 special council meeting. The Jefferson County League of Cities annual dinner will take place on Thursday, November 21st. I encourage members of the council to attend. The city will pay for your dinner and for the dinner of your spouse or guest. Please let John Carter know if you are able to attend. Third, our new art exhibit opened on Sunday, October 20th, this past, I guess, Sunday a week ago. The opening reception from 2 to 5 p.m. proved to be highly successful. Approximately 200 people attended, some portion or all of the opening event. In conjunction with the opening, the Art and City Hall Committee organized an artists market. The market took place in the library on both Saturday and Sunday, October 19th and 20th. Various artists sold their work at the market. Prices ranged from $15 up to $150 and possibly more for some items. Many of those who attended the market, including Liza and I, took advantage of the event to buy Christmas presents. It was really a very nice event, and I hope the Art and City Hall Prospect Committee will schedule something in the future along those same lines. Fourth, don't have in my notes, but I've also been asked to announce that tomorrow is the deadline. Oh, here it is. That I've been asked to remind the council members and candidates for council that tomorrow is the deadline for candidates to submit material for inclusion in the city's newsletter. So for those who are present, send that reminder. I was also told that two candidates who are not present may not have submitted theirs, and I'll endeavor to let them know that tomorrow is the deadline. Next, with regard to the appointment of Tony Denham as chief, Kentucky Revised Statute 83A.080 provides that the mayor appoints non-elected officers. The statute also provides that the appointment of certain of those non-elected officers require approval of the city legislative body. So the positions that require approval include city clerk, city administrator, and chief of police. The statute makes no such provision with regard to assistant chief, and for that reason, we will not be considering the appointment of of Michael McKeon as Assistant Chief simply because his appointment does not require approval of the council. As I stated at the October 21st meeting, I have complete confidence in the ability of Tony Denham to lead Prospect Police Department. I know that our officers have tremendous respect for and loyalty to Tony and to Michael. I appreciated the comments that Bob Jacobs made about Tony at the special meeting, and I know that our fellow citizens who have had the opportunity to work with Tony also hold him in high regard. I want to commend Sarah Hines and other council members who suggested we hold the October 21 special meeting. That meeting gave the council an opportunity to talk with Tony and Michael about their vision for our police department. I found the discussion to be most helpful, and I applaud the council and Jeff and Tony for the substantive discussion that took place. Going forward, we will look to schedule similar meetings with the council and police leadership from time to time. I anticipate that might be quarterly, but we will make that decision as we move forward. And that really arises from the very helpful discussion that we had on October 21st. So that concludes my report. If anyone has any questions for me, I'd be pleased to answer them. If not, in the absence of any questions, we'll move forward with the agenda. The next item on the agenda is financial reports. John Carter.
I'm going to summarize financials for September. Cash on hand was $3.4 million. Our expenditures are roughly in line with what we have budgeted. Some of the income from our investments for the past 3 months has been totaled $46,000 and change, and you'll hear more about that in a future report from Susan Nicholson. As of this afternoon, we've collected a little over 91% of our real estate tax, and so we are now moving money back into our investments. Road fund, restricted road fund aid. We just received the bill for the recent paving, so this does not reflect that payment, but we're at $283,000. I believe that paving bill was about $250K. And I'll entertain any questions.
Any questions for John? All right. If not, we'll move forward. Next item on the agenda is the Forestation Board report. Kurt Schumacher, I believe, is making that report this evening.
Yes, Linda is ill this evening, so she asked that I make the report. Well, we had a very productive meeting with Andrea and Chase personnel last Thursday. The situation where some trees were taken down by mistake. And Chase has been very good to work with, and they've planted 4 red point maples, and they're planted now. So it appears that these trees are real similar to the trees they have on the interior parking lots, which will be good to be consistent. And Andrea will evaluate the trees and the planting, but Andrea has worked with their design people from the beginning. So, and then what we did this year, we typically had the canopy program strictly in the spring. We alternate the Arbor Fest, but with the tornado and the big winds and the loss of trees, we went ahead and with the help of the council's increase in budget, that we had the fall canopy program is well received, and we are going to continue that spring version. But 18 larger trees, people have applied for that and paid for the trees, and they'll be planted late November or early December. And then we did have our Arbor Fest, what a really, really pretty day. Saturday had a big turnout of helpers and of citizens. We also, with the increase in budget, we ordered 75 trees this year. Typically in the near past, we've had 50 trees. And so this morning we had 7 trees left. And if you go out there tonight, there's no trees. We really believe this will help with the storm recovery and replenishment of trees as the older trees do age out. And we are a tree city, and we work hard to be a tree city, and it has quite a few requirements. And one of them is to be supportive increase of trees, and that's what we've done. So that's our report. Is there any questions?
Any questions for her?
Okay.
Thanks for.
Thank you.
I'll mention the council, you mentioned that the funding for the Arborfest and the tree canopy program increased, and that was a direct result of the tornado, and it sounds like it's paid off, that we've gotten more of the larger trees out in addition to the smaller trees given away during Arborfest.
Yes. Yes.
So thanks so much.
Okay. Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee report. David, I understand you may be making that report.
Ms. Linda Waddell is not able to be here tonight. Her report covers some successful events that the Parks and Recreation Committees have been doing. Also some new things that have occurred in our parks, been placed in there, but also to highlight some of the people who have made these things happen. So one of the people who has been very helpful with events in Prospect has been Sally Snyder. And she helped with planning the kids craft for the very successful Prospect 50th birthday party. I want to commend her for doing that. Parks and Rec Committee also has now a new student member whose name is Abby Potter. And Abby is super. She's volunteering to help with everything that the Parks and Rec does. And she helped volunteer with the birthday party, the 50th birthday party. She also handled the Prospect table for the Touch the Truck event, which I understand was very successful also. And gave out information about the parks, but also Arborfest and the Harrods Creek Trail Bash were distributed to the people who were present there. We've been very fortunate over the years to have 40 different Eagle projects in the parks here at Prospect. Lynn Granger is on the Parks and Rec Committee, and Lynn has been coordinating all these with the Scouts. If somebody would come up, I can hand it out to you all in the back, and you can look at these. But also, when you come to City Hall and in the near future, get a chance to look at them. But two of the Eagle Scout projects that have just been completed are information kiosks, one of which is put near the playground, and the other is put near one of the trails around Little Honey Creek that's actually on Fox Harbor Road. And you'll get a chance to look at it, but they're really quality projects, and they add a lot to it. The one that's on the Little Honey Creek Park, Scout Harrison Reed of Troop 477 did, and the other one that's on the Eagle Creek Boardwalk is done by Jacob Early, Scout member of Troop 327. We've been very fortunate, as I've indicated, to have 40 of these done. And while there are plaques that are put on each of the projects that you can see the name of the person and the Scout troop that person has done, the mayor's in the process of coming up with a recognition display in City Hall for all the Scout projects that we've done, had done for us over the years. And I think that's something that's going to be really nice. Additionally, for those of you who use the trail, you'll find out that the swing bench that's on the Blue Trail has finally been repaired and back in operation. And lastly, just to mention, the Harrods Creek Trail Bash will take place on Sunday, November 24th. There are applications that you have to fill out to participate in it, but there also will be a ribbon cutting to dedicate the Harrods Creek Park Stream Crossing Bridge that will take place immediately before the race. And you don't have to fill out an application to come see the opening of that. Thank you.
Thanks, David. I'll add the swing bench on the Blue Trail that David reported on being repaired was actually repaired with insurance proceeds we received following the tornado. It was destroyed in the tornado, I believe, when a tree fell on the previous structure and demolished it. So we were fortunate the insurance company stepped up and I think paid every dollar. And it was an expensive project,
About $5,300.
$5,300. So that was good that it was covered, and it's good to have it back. It looked, the photograph I've seen of it looks terrific. Any questions for David about the Parks report? Thanks, David, for stepping in. Investment Committee, Susan Nichols.
Good evening. I'm going to go over the report that we've included in your packet as advanced material. And just as a reminder, the investments that we have are now managed with the Kentucky League of Cities as part of their investment program. And we're using 3 of their funds, a money market fund, more of a bond fund that's called the Enhanced Income Fund, and an S&P 500 fund. And the investments went down from the June 30 to September, but that was because the money market had a large withdrawal. We use that to, when there's excess funds due to property taxes, instead of having them sit in the checking account, they're moved to the money market. And then towards the end of the year, fiscal year, before new monies are coming in the door, there comes times where we have to pull money back to keep the lights on and pay employees. So that's what the biggest reason they went down. The investment results themselves were part of the great market that we're currently part of. And so we actually saw an increase in interest and dividends and unrealized gains of about $44,000. We continue a program that where we're dipping our toe into the stock market, and each month $5,000 is added to the S&P 500 fund. And that's paid off as the market's gone up, and we're at an all-time high right now. Had we kept those funds in just the money market and the bond fund, they would have earned about $900, and they actually increased in value and gave us dividends between those two pieces, increased $4,700 since we've been in it. And entertain any questions?
And I'll mention that all the investment committee is doing a great job. Susan's provided wonderful leadership, but all of the decisions that are made by the investment committee, and actually are made by John and by me with the advice of the investment committee, are in accordance with state statute and with the investment policy that the council has adopted. So I'll try to adhere to that pretty closely.
Thank you.
Very closely. Thanks, Susan. Next item on the agenda is Jefferson County League of Cities. Don?
Yeah, I have 2 meetings to cover. The first was September 19th, member meeting. Large turnout for the Metro presentation. Part 2025, Alex Persinski, Director of TARP Marketing, spoke on significantly less TARP ridership since 2020. And I guess most metropolitan areas are seeing this. But so they're looking at a 50% reduction in funding and services in 2025. To meet the challenge, we are seeking public input with surveys to determine preferences on 3 concepts. The first is ridership, which says less routes but less wait time. Second is coverage, less route reduction but more wait time. And the third is a group combine both of those, but it's a 20% cost increase from where we are. None of the concepts have any bus service to Prospects. The closest bus service we have now is Slumkill Lane and US 42. And all 3 of those show somebody going to the new VA hospital or 22 in Harrow Lane. Middle housing, Jeff O'Brien, Executive Director of Metro Economic and Development Cabinet, gave a presentation on Metro housing. He said the city needs 36,000 housing units now, and the state needs 206,000. The cost of housing is surging and out of range for starter homes. Need higher density to accommodate. And that's what's driving the proposed amendment to the Land Development Code in later spring. Stated city had middle housing concept prior to World War II, after which county and city zoning laws were changed to accommodate high demand at the time single-family housing. We went into a question and answer phase, and the responses were pretty much unfavorable to what we had to say. And that was mostly from various small little cities. Their universal concern is the concept will change the single-family character of their city. Mr. O'Brien said he wanted to work with suburban cities and JCL, and he has in fact requested a meeting, a follow-up meeting with the JCL board. It's set for 4 p.m. this Wednesday. October 17, 2024, Cindy Sullivan, trees logo. Goal is to improve metro tree canopy, which is currently 39%. She got a $12 million federal grant for tree planting and education in the underserved area of the city. One of the things she talked about was, I came up with, how do you measure tree canopy? And she said tree canopy is measured by flying over the metro with a special radar that distinguishes between tree coverage, in metro is 39%, ground cover based growth, which is grass, low plants, which in metro is 32%, impervious surfaces, 27%, and dirt, 2%. So that makes up the 2%. So in fact, there is some scientific measurement on our tree canopy. They also had readings for metro cities. There's 3 or 4 of them, 2014 to 2019. Mockingbird Valley, Indian Hills, and Glenview had the highs of 61%. Prospect is 44%. And there's a few cities at 11%. Following presentation by a spokesman for a fiber optics company seeking a franchise fee from all metro cities. Concept was not warmly received. It's probably a Google project dated and questionable benefits if implemented. Maybe worthwhile fiber cables, high quality and efficiency. Mike, they sound like they need a marketing director. As the mayor pointed out, JCL city and elected officials are invited to the annual JCLC dinner on 11/21. It's reception's 5:30. Programming is in dinner 7. It's at the Jeffersonian on Taylorsville Road. Dan Quails, Ryan Quails will be the guest speaker. Questions?
Any questions for Don regarding the League of Cities? Thanks, Don. Appreciate the report. Next item on the agenda is the police report. And I know we've got the written report in the materials, and Jeff, I'm sure you'll talk about that, but I hope you'll take the opportunity to talk a little bit about how you're not going to have any more council meetings after tonight.
I think I estimate this is about a 150th meeting over the years. Okay, let's just do the report first. Actually, the last few months we've talked about how the house watches and everything were down. That was because we were actually down personnel and we had fewer people to do it. Well, now that we're up to pretty close to full staff, we're above what we did last year in house fix. So we're completely caught up with everything. We did about 300 more this past month than we did the previous year for the same time period. So that's pretty good. Other stuff with regard to felony reports, we had 5 reported. 4 of them were stolen cars that all happened within about 30 minutes of each other. Same location, but we actually talked about these a little bit last month because they had happened right before the previous meeting. 3 of the 4 were recovered within 24 hours. So that's pretty good. The 4th car actually had been driving around, and this is where the flock cameras come in all over Metro Louisville. This one car kept showing up on flock multiple times a day in multiple areas in the south end of Louisville, Cane Run Road, Dixie Highway, New Cut Road, Taylor Boulevard, all over the place. It was like whack-a-mole, all over the place until it stopped on October 14th, right? Yeah, finally it stopped. I mean, they put so many miles on this car, it's a Jeep Cherokee, they probably needed to change the oil. Put a lot of miles on it. So that one, to our knowledge, has not been recovered yet. But apparently it was pretty serviceable because they were driving the hell out of it. Okay, the 2 arrests we had, one of them was a DUI. It was a daytime DUI. This wasn't standard. They had actually received a call on the same vehicle the day before, but were unable to locate it. The following day, Officer Hardy is pulling out of Hunting Creek and spots the guy. The guy kind of runs through a red light or whatever, so he gets behind him. And right on cue, the guy drives up through I guess sees the lights, drives up through the driveway, hits a guide wire or whatever on it. Drunker than a skunk. And his blood alcohol, I think, was 32, right? He was a professional. I mean, he was out the day before, manages not to get killed or kill anybody else. But the next day runs off the road and he left his, I guess he thought the police were coming. So he's got a bottle of vodka. What was he mixing it with? He was mixing it with, oh, it was something horrible. But anyway, he throws it in the glove box. And when it was still open. So who's the schmuck that has to get in the glove box and get all this paperwork out? This guy. So I'm standing there on the side of the road and now I smell like vodka the rest of the day. But it was pretty fun. It's a good way to go out. But that was a pretty good one. Other than that, there's not a lot to report on the regular police stuff. Okay. We did get our 3 new police cars that had been ordered for some time. They had trouble getting a lot of the equipment in. They finally got that. They were all delivered Friday morning. They're all out here in the parking lot. They haven't been assigned yet. They look great, turned out well. And then last week, we also got our new patches in, new police patches for the uniforms. It had been in discussion for about 10 years that we were going to redo the thing. Because honestly, the white patch, the old one, the artwork, we had always joked around that the patch looks like it was an art project and it was the 3rd place winner in a 4th grade school. So, but anyway, so they were never fond of it. And so after 10 years, we finally got the patch and it came in last week and all of the guys and everybody was involved in the design. So that's what the new one is. It's gray. And it actually has the incorporation of the Florida League and it has the city year, just like this one did, 1974, when it was designed. And then the logo says Justice to be, that was incorporated in. So they were happy to get that. So they'll start transitioning those and switching out the patches on the uniform. But that was a all hands on deck project. Everybody had their hands in it. There was a number of different prototypes that were looked at and they came up with that one and I think everybody was happy with it. Okay. In January of 2012, the position of chief became open and ironically, my brother called me and said, there's a job that's opening up in Prospect. I think you would like it. And so I looked at it and the posting in the newspaper, the qualifications that they were looking for, as I went down what Prospect was looking for, almost every single line resembled what I already had on my resume. And I thought at the time, this looks like this was meant to be. This looks like something that would be a natural fit. And then I met with the committee twice and every step of the way, John Embry's been here with me. He was there for the 2 meetings. He and Mayor Todd Everly, Ann Sims, Loretta Ertl was here, and Larry Johnson, who was a policeman here at the time, who's since retired. And I guess they saw something in me that they liked. So they picked me and it's been a great 12 and a half years. The people here have been fantastic. I've loved working first with Todd Everly and then with John Evans for a long time. We became great friends. And then now Mayor Farnsley. And I appreciate it, all the council along the way. Everybody has been great to me, even at times when, you know, council members didn't get along over the years. I guess that's a natural occurrence. But I can't say that not once has anybody not been good to me. And for that, I'm grateful. To Tony and the staff, they've been wonderful. From the very minute, I have not had trouble at all. Tony's a great guy. He will do a wonderful job. I knew him a little bit at Metro Police where we both worked, and he has a fantastic reputation. It was stellar then, it's stellar now. And you're getting a good guy. And Michael, I knew a little bit. My brother actually rode for years out in the East End on late shift with Michael. My brother's crazier than Michael is. And that's going ways. But one thing I will tell you, he's extremely smart. He's very talented. I think I've told you on a number of occasions, things that he's done, things that he's solved, because he is, even though he's crazy, he is extremely smart. Extremely smart, very, very talented. And yeah, and so, I mean, you're doing very, very well, I can tell you that. The staff at City Hall has been great to me, Ron and his guys, the ladies at the front, in the front office. John Carter is just wonderful. I've told other people, he's one of the best things that's happened to the city of Prospect. And I truly mean that. And also to the residents of Prospect. Thank you for the last 12.5 years. I appreciate it. Everybody's been extremely good. So, and I'm gonna miss you.
Well, thanks, Jeff. I think there are going to be a few comments made here. At least I'm going to make a few comments and other people will have an opportunity. So I became mayor almost 2 years ago, and I had been on the council for one term before that. I'd gotten to know Jeff a little bit while I was on the council, but I've really come to know him much better over the course of the past 2 years. One thing that I've learned, and this was underscored when the council met with Tony and with Michael on October 21st, there's a lot more to policing than most of us realize. And there's just a whole body of knowledge. There's a level of training that's remarkable. That the ongoing education, the education that takes place before they become police officers and the continuing education that continues thereafter is very, very impressive. So we have a senior staff meeting once a week, and Jeff and John and Ron and I meet for an hour or so. Tony's been coming to the meetings more recently along with Jeff. And something will come up and I'll say something about policing that to me is just obvious that you would do this. And then Jeff will say very gently, he'll tell me without saying you're wrong, he'll say 3 things that'll tell me, I really don't know what I'm talking about. And even though things seem obvious to us as lay people, there are reasons that our police do things the way they do them, and they're very thoughtful about it. Jeff's a perfect example of that, and it's been a real education for me and a real privilege for me to see him in action and to see our police department in action. He has, I wasn't here 12 years ago, but I've heard the stories, and it appears to me that the police department was somewhat dysfunctional when Jeff came on board. And that has changed dramatically over the course of the 12 years. It wasn't overnight. It took time, and it's still to some extent a work in progress, but it is remarkable the level of professionalism and training and experience that our police officers have. One of our new officers was a major at LMPD for over 20 years, I guess. And I had an unblemished record, as all of our officers have unblemished records. Most of our police officers' experience before they came here included supervision of other police officers. So these are people who are leaders, and they show that in the way they interact with each other and interact with others in other first responders and with our citizens. So Jeff, it's been a privilege to work with you for 2 years. Jeff told me my first full day as mayor that he was going to retire October 31st of 2025. And he's true to his word. That's the date. So we'll miss you when you leave, but we appreciate you being here and appreciate you continuing to make all the efforts that you make with the police department. And with that said, I'll see if any other council members have any comments they want to make. Mayor Evans?
Jeff was our chief. I became mayor in 2013. And the short of it is, I was really lucky to have such a good police chief as Jeff Short. There's nothing else to say.
Floor is open. Anybody? And yes, sir. Mr. Holmes or anybody? John Embry, I'm going to call on you. Yeah, I know.
And I have nothing prepared.
That's okay.
Well, as Jeff alluded, I was one of the people on the committee that interviewed all of these people. And when I looked at Jeff's resume, because we got advanced copies going into the meeting, to him, he looked at it and said he checked all the blocks. So I looked at it and said, this guy fits. I mean, it was clear. This was going to be a top candidate versus one of the guys who said he wanted to be like Andy in Mayberry, and he thought if he came to Prospect as the chief of police, that would fulfill his dream. Somehow, that didn't exactly fit my idea of chief of police. But I've watched Jeff as I've been here in most of the council meetings since then. And without a doubt, he's impressive. I listen to his reports. They're thorough. And I talk to him as well from time to time. And, it's been a great 12 years, not just a good 12 years. It's been a great 12 years with Jeff.
Thanks, John. Okay. And we haven't talked a whole lot about Jeff's work before he got here, but he held just about every leadership position in the Louisville Police Department. Started with the Jefferson County Police, but was a captain at the time that he retired, I believe, in the police department. And one of the real top leaders, was in charge of budgeting for, I don't know how many tens of millions of dollars were under your.
Well, that was
Yeah.
special operations.
So he came in with a level of expertise. He headed at one point internal affairs. I've mentioned before, worked each presidential visit. He would be in charge of Louisville Police Department response and participation in the president's or candidate's visit to Louisville. And I think would have over 200 officers under his command for each of those visits. Was in charge of the LMPD work at the Ryder Cup when it was here a number of years ago. Was in charge when Queen Elizabeth visited Churchill Downs. So he's been right up front out front on all the big deal things that occurred in Louisville in his years as a leader in that department. He's certainly, I don't want to say way overqualified for Prospect, but I will say we are extraordinarily fortunate to have had him for 12 years in this role. I joked with one of the officers who said how pleased he was to be here. I said, well, you're pleased to be here for the same reason we are. The people are friendly and it's safe. But a lot of the reason that it's as safe as it is because we have such an outstanding police department. So Jeff, we really appreciate that. Yes, sir.
In my background, one of the things that I have done before, I was head of the civil division of the Jefferson County Attorney's Office as county commissioner. And I can tell you the biggest exposure
that any small city has is their police department. And when I took this job as the city attorney, biggest thing that I considered was, our police department, what are they doing right? What are they doing wrong, et cetera? And I couldn't come up with anything they were doing wrong. And I just want to thank you, Chief, for allowing me to sleep better at night. So really, anything written, any policy written that you want to have, but it gets down to the quality of the people that are enforcing what you have to enforce. And we've got quality officers and we've got a quality chief. I appreciate it. So
Okay. Yes, sir.
I picked the right meeting to come to. I'm the deputy chief for Anchorage Middletown Fire and EMS, one of them. But before our merger in 2019, I was deputy chief for Harris Creek. Where I did a product.
Tell us your name.
Kent Kruger, sorry.
That's okay.
So I've had a lot of opportunities to work with Prospect Police on various incidents, and it's always been a pleasure with Chief Sherrard and Tony. And I also live out here. I live in Bridgepoint, so I still see them all the time, driving through the neighborhood. And coming from the other side of the table, it's definitely nice to see the presence that we have in Prospect of our police department. I know a lot of cities don't have that. And, out walking the dog at 10 o'clock and seeing them come through with the lights on, check, so they can see everything. It's always it's comforting to know. So just wanted to say thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Ken. Appreciate it. All right, we'll move forward with the agenda. The next item on the agenda is new business. It's the mayor's nomination of Assistant Police Chief Tony Denham as Prospect's new police chief. So that is my appointment. We've got Tony's resume, which is outstanding. We had that excellent meeting that I discussed earlier, but I'll open the floor to discussion by council members. Any questions they might have for Tony or any comments they might want to make before we move to a
I
vote.
think that before we have discussion, we should have a motion.
Well, that's a
You
possibility.
agree?
I don't know that it's necessary, but I think I make the appointment, the council will act on that appointment.
For the council to act and for the council to discuss, I think it would be appropriate to have a motion. And whether it is or not, I'm going to move that we accept your nomination of Tony Denham as our next chief.
Second. Okay, the motion's been made by John Evans and seconded by Frank Fulcher. Is that right? So then with the motion having been made seconded, we'll open the floor for discussion or questions or comments. Okay, in the absence of any discussion or questions, we'll move to a vote. We'll do that by a roll call. Sarah, I will call on you first.
Absolute, yes.
Okay, Tom Gibson,
yes.
John Evans,
I have to think about this a little bit now. You vote yes.
David Holmes.
Yes.
John Clark. Yes. Frank Fulcher.
Yes.
Okay, congratulations.
You getting married or what?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Better explain to us what you just handed to us.
Chief's badge and the eagle collar. It's going with you.
We'll give you the opportunity for a rebuttal, Tony, if you got anything you want to say. Okay, good. Thanks so much. Very appreciative. Congratulations. We're appreciative to you for your service and for taking this on.
Absolutely.
And that becomes effective on November 1st. So you'll be the chief as of that date. We'll have to administer the oath again. So when that day comes. Okay, next item on the agenda, as I said, we're not going to proceed with the nomination of Assistant Police Chief, as the new Assistant Police Chief of Michael McKeon, as that does not require council approval, but I've made that appointment and now with Tony's now that he's the new chief, you are now the new assistant chief, Michael. So thank you as well. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the first reading of ordinance 645/2024, an ordinance relating to the amendment and modification of chapter 114 regulating distance between packaged liquor sales. This ordinance would repeal city regulations defining minimum distances between retail packaged liquor licenses. Is there a motion to give that ordinance a first reading?
So moved.
Second.
And is there discussion? We
Well,
discussed
I
it.
think that we should do whatever we can do to promote and nurture local businesses, and I think this is one of them. So
Absolutely.
happy to do that.
And we discussed it earlier with the gentleman from Evergreen's comments and my comments, but anything you need to add, Chris, so people know what we're doing?
Well, this is clear cut. Our ordinance violates the state statute. The state statute I started with, and it says that 241.060 to limit, this is the state agency, that limited in sound description the number of licenses for each kind of class to be issued in the state or any political subdivision and restrict the locations of licensed premises. Our ordinance gave a distance of 2,640 feet per mile, and obviously cannot do that. It's not consistent. There is a case 2004 directly on point. The state has preempted it. I talked with, not only did I research it, but I talked with KLC and their attorney, and she was totally agreeing with me. And then I talked with ABC, and I think what's important, Mike, from your standpoint, when I talked to ABC, went ahead and told them what was in the issue, and they said, "Oh, we have never had a problem with Evergreen. They're a Class A corporate citizen, and we do insist that your ordinance is in violation, and you all do what you want to do on that. But all you have to do is your ABC administrator has to approve it, and once they approve it, we will approve it, and it will be done. So this should pass without any question.
Okay. Is there any questions for Chris? Any discussion? Yes, sir.
I would like to make a point on what you said. If there is ever an issue with the green lights, you all have something. You feel free to call me. Have any issue with them there, we talk to you. We pride ourselves on not having issues. Basically, so anytime of reason, there's any issues with the city, police, fire, whatever it may be, feel free to call, text, email, any time of day, night. You will make sure that we treat it.
Thanks so much. Okay, are we ready to move to a vote on the first reading? Frank, I'll start with you.
Yes.
John?
Yes.
David Holmes?
Yes.
John Evans? Yes. Jeff Gibson? Yes. Sarah Hines? Okay, so
Piece of that whole,
I think,
that whole ordinance,
I can't remember who made the motion.
and it's the distance issue.
Frank, you made the motion on this. Would you do the first reading?
Okay.
Or, yeah, just the, I think the title.
City of Prospect, Kentucky, ordinance number 645, series 2024. An ordinance relating to the amendment and modification of chapter 114, regulating distance between packaged liquor sales.
And as we mentioned earlier, this ordinance repeals the city regulations defining minimum distances between retail packaged liquor licenses. Thank you. And that,
Thank you.
I believe, may be the last item on the agenda. Is there other business to come before the council? If not, we will stand adjourned.
It's long.
So moved.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you.
And it's just the one piece of deals. We're
I got it. I got it.
where they can put it.
Send me a photograph.